Imagine for a moment a world where a single medical infusion could halt a devastating disease in its tracks, where a single treatment could change the entire course of a young child's life. For thousands of families fighting the relentless progression of Duchenne muscular dystrophy, better known as DMD, that future once felt tantalizingly close. In recent years, hope surged as scientific breakthroughs promised a new era of medicine. But now, hope has collided with heartbreak, and the entire global biotech industry finds itself staring into a mirror, questioning the very speed and safety of its most revolutionary advances. Duchenne muscular dystrophy is a rare inherited condition that primarily affects boys, robbing them of muscle strength, mobility, and ultimately, their very lives. The disease is caused by mutations in the dystrophin gene, the gene responsible for producing a critical protein that acts like a shock absorber for muscles. Without functional dystrophin, every movement, every jump, every step, even every breath, gradually tears away at muscle fibers. For decades, the story was one of despair. Young boys with DMD would often begin to lose the ability to walk by their early teens, their muscles wasting away inexorably. The average life expectancy was heartbreakingly short, with many not surviving beyond their 20s. There were no cures, only therapies to slow the progress and ease discomfort. Families faced years of hospital visits, wheelchairs, and the constant fear of what tomorrow might bring. The emotional, physical, and financial toll was profound. Grandparents, parents, siblings, all became caregivers, advocates, and too often, witnesses to declining strength and fading hope. But in the early years of the 21st century, science began to offer a glimmer of hope. Genetic research, once the realm of science fiction, became reality. In the early 2020s, Sarepta Therapeutics, a pioneering company in the world of genetic medicine, made headlines with a breakthrough: Elevidys. This therapy was the first gene therapy for Duchenne muscular dystrophy to be approved in the United States. Elevidys uses a modified adeno-associated virus, or AAV, as a delivery vehicle, transporting a functional copy of the dystrophin gene directly into patients' muscle cells. The mechanics are mind-boggling. Scientists essentially reprogram a harmless virus, load it with genetic instructions, and inject it so it can deliver those instructions where they are needed most. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, recognizing the desperate need for treatments in rare diseases, granted Elevidys accelerated approval. This fast-track system is designed to get promising drugs into the hands of patients faster, with the understanding that companies will continue to collect data and prove their therapy's safety and effectiveness over time. Families and doctors rejoiced. The biotech industry buzzed with excitement. Investors flocked to Sarepta, betting on a new age of medicine. In just the first quarter of 2025, Elevidys brought in over $375 million in sales, accounting for more than half of Sarepta's total revenue. More than 900 boys worldwide, each with their own unique story, their own dreams and struggles, have now received this gene therapy. For many, it seemed like the dawn of a new era. Headlines celebrated the arrival of miracle medicine. Advocacy groups shared stories of children taking steps they never thought possible. In some clinics, tears of joy replaced years of frustration and grief. The hope was palpable, almost electric. Yet, behind the scenes, concerns were quietly accumulating. Clinical trials had revealed that around 30% of patients treated with Elevidys developed elevated liver enzymes, a warning sign that the liver, the body's vital detox organ, was under stress. For many, these changes were temporary and manageable. Doctors monitored patients closely, adjusted medications, and reassured families. Still, the specter of risk hovered. Some parents, already living on the edge of anxiety, wondered, were the dangers fully understood? Was the medical community moving too fast in its eagerness to bring hope? Then, the unthinkable happened. News broke that a second teenage boy had died from liver failure after receiving Elevidys. For families like the Lawsons, the tragedy struck painfully close to home. Cameron Lawson, whose 10-year-old son Connor had started showing signs of liver failure just weeks after his own Elevidys infusion, spoke to reporters with heart-wrenching honesty. This kid died from the same thing we're trying to fight off right now. Their story is not unique. Across the world, parents who had once dared to dream of a cure now found themselves gripped by a new kind of fear, a fear that the very hope they had clung to might come with unbearable costs. The Duchenne community, families, advocates, and clinicians, was shaken to its core. For years, they had fought for faster access to new treatments. Now they were forced to confront the reality that even the most innovative therapies can carry deadly risks. Social media platforms and patient forums lit up with anxious questions. Should we pause? Should we continue? What is the price of hope? In response, Sarepta scrambled to contain the crisis. Shipments of Elevidys for non-ambulatory patients, those who could no longer walk, were immediately halted. The company's largest ongoing study, known as Envision, was put on pause while scientists and doctors tried to understand what had gone wrong. Sarepta's chief scientific officer, Louise Rodino-Klapac, promised, "We are taking every step possible to understand and mitigate this risk." The company began developing a stronger, more sophisticated immunosuppression regimen, possibly involving drugs like sirolimus, which could help protect the liver from immune system attacks triggered by the gene therapy. But concerns only deepened. Financial analysts reacted with alarm. Major investment banks like Piper Sandler downgraded Sarepta's stock, warning of a significant drop in sales and a possible lasting blow to the company's reputation. Brian Abrahams, an analyst at RBC Capital Markets, suggested that the FDA might choose to restrict Elevidys use only to those patients who are still able to walk, leaving a large population of desperate families with no treatment options at all. Joseph Schwartz of Leerink Partners spoke of a reputational hit to both Sarepta and the entire gene therapy sector. Meanwhile, Gil Bloom at Needham maintained a buy rating on Sarepta's stock but slashed his target price, reflecting the uncertainty now facing the company. The ripple effect spread quickly throughout the biotech world. Was science moving too fast? Were companies and regulators being sufficiently cautious with these powerful new medicines? The accelerated approval pathway, once hailed as a lifeline for rare disease patients, now faced tough scrutiny. Was the system too quick to embrace hope and too slow to catch hidden dangers? For the global gene therapy industry, the implications are enormous. Elevidys is not just any treatment. It is a flagship for the entire field of genetic medicine. Its fate could shape how regulators, investors, and the public view all gene therapies in the years ahead. The tragedy has forced a fundamental question. How do we preserve the promise of gene therapy while truly safeguarding patient safety? There are several possible scenarios ahead. One likely outcome is that regulators such as the FDA could tighten access to gene therapies across the board. For Elevidys specifically, that could mean limiting its use only to ambulatory patients, those who can still walk. Such a move would slow the pace of innovation, but advocates argue it might be necessary to prevent further tragedies. Alternatively, Sarepta's efforts to improve immunosuppression protocols could make the therapy safer for a wider group of patients. Drugs like sirolimus, already used in organ transplantation to prevent rejection, show promise in shielding the liver from immune-related damage. But these regimens come with their own risks. Suppressing the immune system can leave patients vulnerable to infections and other complications. It is a delicate balancing act, requiring constant vigilance and expert oversight. Meanwhile, researchers around the globe are scouring patient data, searching for biomarkers, biological warning signs, that could help predict which children are at higher risk of dangerous side effects. Imagine a future where a simple blood test or genetic screen could tell doctors whether a patient is more likely to experience liver problems. This kind of precision medicine, where treatments are tailored to the individual, could revolutionize not just DMD therapy, but the entire approach to rare diseases. In fact, the search for reliable biomarkers has already become a top priority for advocacy groups like Parent Project Muscular Dystrophy, who are calling for more research, better monitoring, and greater transparency from companies and regulators alike. The financial stakes are immense. Sarepta's share price has taken a beating, with billions of dollars in market value wiped away almost overnight. Analysts have slashed sales projections, predicting a long and difficult road to regain the trust of both investors and the public. In the first quarter of 2025, Elevidys accounted for more than half of Sarepta's total revenue, a staggering figure that underscores the therapy's importance to the company's future. Approval in markets like Japan, while a positive sign, does little to offset the uncertainty now facing the brand. Yet, amid the turmoil, some experts remain cautiously optimistic. They argue that with greater transparency, more robust monitoring, and a willingness to learn from mistakes, trust can be rebuilt. The history of medicine is filled with stories of early setbacks giving way to lasting progress. Louise Rodino-Klapac, Sarepta's chief scientific officer, insists, "We are taking every step possible to understand and mitigate the risks. Patient safety comes first." For families living with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, The dream of a one-time cure remains powerful. The idea of replacing a lifetime of treatments, hospital visits, and uncertainty with a single infusion is profoundly compelling. But now, that dream is shadowed by anxiety and doubt. As one parent advocacy group put it, "We need hope, but hope must never come at the cost of our children's lives." So what does all this mean for you, the viewer, and for society at large? First, it is a stark reminder that even the most revolutionary technology is never truly risk-free. When new medicines reach the market at record speed, it is absolutely crucial to demand rigorous studies, honest communication about potential dangers, and real-world tracking of side effects. If you or someone you love faces a rare disease, do not be afraid to ask tough questions about every new therapy. Seek to understand not just the potential benefits, but also the risks, especially for treatments that have only recently been approved or have limited long-term data. For policymakers and investors, the lesson is equally clear. Trust is hard-won and all too easily lost. Companies must be transparent, own their setbacks, and make patient safety the highest priority, even at the expense of short-term profits. The pressure to deliver blockbuster therapies should never come before the well-being of vulnerable patients. Regulators, for their part, must strike a careful balance between speed and safety, ensuring that accelerated approvals do not become a shortcut for cutting corners. For the medical community, the recent tragedies underscore an urgent need for better predictive tools, biomarkers, and data-driven approaches that can identify which patients are most likely to suffer severe side effects before the first dose is ever given. The work of researchers, clinicians, and data scientists is more critical than ever. Every patient's story adds a vital piece to the puzzle, helping build a future where treatments are not only effective, but also truly safe. The broader biotech industry is now at a crossroads. The fallout from Elevidys has forced a reckoning with uncomfortable questions. How do we balance hope and caution? How do we ensure that the next wave of gene therapies, targeting everything from rare childhood diseases to common conditions like hemophilia and sickle cell anemia, do not repeat the same mistakes? The answer lies in humility, transparency, and relentless scientific rigor. Companies must listen to patients and families, share data openly, and collaborate with regulators and independent experts. Only by fostering a culture of learning and accountability can the industry move forward with confidence. As we approach the end of this story, let's return to the question we started with. Can Sarepta and the entire gene therapy field restore trust and make these revolutionary medicines safe for all patients? The answer is complex. There will be more setbacks, more hard choices, and, inevitably, more heartbreaks. But there is also reason for hope. Every tragedy, as painful as it is, reveals a lesson. Every setback, if properly understood, sparks new safeguards that protect future generations. The history of medicine is full of such stories. The polio vaccine, for example, faced early failures before becoming a global triumph. Organ transplantation was once considered impossible, until years of trial and error made it a standard of care. Even chemotherapy, now a cornerstone of cancer treatment, began as a risky and controversial experiment. Today, gene therapy stands at a similar crossroads. Its potential is breathtaking. Cures for diseases that were once considered untreatable, relief for families facing the unimaginable, and new hope for millions around the world. But every leap forward must be grounded in humility, transparency, and an unwavering commitment to patient safety. So, what can you do? If you care about the future of medicine, stay curious and stay critical. Demand more from the companies, scientists, and regulators who shape the treatments of tomorrow. Ask questions, seek information, and never accept easy answers. If you are a parent, a patient, or simply a concerned citizen, your voice matters. Join patient advocacy groups, participate in clinical trials, and help build a culture of openness and accountability. And if you believe in the promise of science, remember this: some of the world's greatest medical breakthroughs were forged in the fires of early failure and heartbreak. Progress is rarely a straight line. There will be setbacks, but also triumphs. The challenge now is to turn sorrow into safety and fear into progress. Thank you for joining us on this journey beyond the headlines. If you want to stay informed about the future of medicine, subscribe to our channel for more stories that explore the intersection of science, hope, and human experience. Share your thoughts and questions in the comments below. Together, we can demand a world where hope